greet our friends everywhere with Chapter 25 of For Such a Time as This, the story of Charles Finney. This is another in the series Stories of Great Christians, and comes to you from the radio studios of the Moody Bible Institute in Chicago. Charles Finney had never been one to just sit around and accept the status quo. He became a Christian through weekly arguments with his local minister as to the differences between what was preached and what he understood the Bible to mean. He was finally convicted by his own right beliefs. And when he took his ideas, that the grace of God was available to every man, not simply some predetermined list called the elect, to the cities and towns of New England, literally tens of thousands responded. One night, a man stood in one of Finney's meetings and declared,
"I'm from Omaha, Nebraska. On my journey east, I found continuous prayer meetings all the way. Now, I make that to be about 2,000 miles from Omaha here to Boston, so that looks to me to be a 2,000-mile prayer meeting."
In that year alone, some 50,000 conversions were recorded in churches throughout the East. Finney started the fire, and it swept farther than he could imagine. He had accepted a teaching position at Oberlin College in Ohio and was immediately in the public eye as a rebel again. There had been trouble in New York when he came out strongly against slavery. Now, at Oberlin, he was advocating integration and using the school as a refuge for runaway slaves on their way to Canada. And this was more than many of the simple farm folk of Oberlin could take. The state legislature began considering repealing Oberlin's charter, and there were threats of gang violence against the college.
But it's ridiculous, just plain ridiculous.
I know that, Charles, but ridiculous as it is, those men mean real hurt to you and the school.
But it's all based on silly rumor. They're saying we intend compelling our students to intermarry, forcing them to. They say we're trying to amalgamate the races. They're completely overlooking the real issues.
Oh, the devil is a wily creature.
Yes. He certainly is. How quickly he can introduce something like this that completely clouds what we're trying to do, I just don't know.
Have you prayed about this, Charles?
Well, you know I have, Lydia. I almost need patches in my knees from the time I've spent over this.
Charles, I don't mean to seem presumptuous.
Well, dear, you can say what you think. You know that.
Well, I think sometimes there's a difference between asking God's help and telling him what to do.
And you think that
I don't know for certain, but it seems to me that the one thing God makes clear over and over is that we are dependent on him.
Of course. You're right, my dear. I want to just run out to every home and tell them how ridiculous those rumors are. I want to tell them how against Scripture slavery is, and I want to...
But, Charles, where is God in all your wants?
You're right. The cause is right. But maybe God has his own ideas about how to work it out.
I'll see who it is.
Thank you, dear. You know, you've given me something to think about.
Shall I tell whoever it is to come back?
That depends on how important it is.
Where's Mr. Finney?
Well, I'm afraid he's a little busy at the moment.
I've got to see him. He's got to know.
It's all right, Lydia. Come on in, Tom.
Mr. Finney, you've got to know. They're coming. They're here.
Who?
The slave catchers.
The what?
They came in this morning. Men from the South looking for the runaways. They're going from house to house trying to round up runaway slaves. They're armed, Mr. Finney, and they mean real business. They say they know there's lots of slaves hiding in these parts, and they mean to take them back dead or alive.
Now, ain't gonna do you any good to try and tell us ain't no slaves hiding out around here. We already know.
Well, they ain't hiding out on my property.
Maybe we'll just have a little look around.
And maybe you won't.
Now, listen, friend, we ain't up here to play games. We got a job to do, and we aim to do it.
Well, I don't exactly cotton to strangers digging around on my farm. I don't like your attitude one bit.
You gonna make it hard on us, friend? You gonna force us to get a little nasty?
Oh, now, don't threaten me, friend. I didn't cut this farm out of nothing without learning a few things about fighting for what I got.
What kind of fight you gonna put up against this gun?
Oh, now, look, friend. I'm gonna tell you real peaceable to put that thing away.
And if I don't?
You'll be dead before you squeeze the trigger. Got him in your sights, Ma?
Right under the brim of his big white hat.
Well, now, look, friend, I was only joshing you a little,
That'd be a whole lot funnier with that gun back in its holster.
Huh? Oh, yeah. No offense, ma'am.
Now, why don't you get back on your horse and ride south?
No, look, friend, you don't want them runaway blacks up here, do you? I mean, there's nothing but troublesome animals. Fact is, I don't even know why the masters want 'em back.
Like I said, friend, why don't you ride back south?
But I sure am sorry you won't cooperate, but you're just asking for trouble. You get enough of them running around free, you're asking for trouble. Come on, boy.
Hey, Ma.
That sure was smart of you, Dad, having me stand in there with the rifle.
Ma, did you hear what he said about them slaves?
I couldn't hear much. What's troubling you?
Well, he called them troublesome animals. Talked about them like they weren't even human.
Well, now, that's what he believed.
Maybe. That isn't what I believe. Guess I never thought very much about it before. I'll be back later.
Where are you going?
Well, them slave catchers have been all over these parts. I want to talk to some of the neighbors, see if they got the same feelings I got.
Dear Lydia, you home?
I'm in here, Charles.
You all right?
Yes, Charles, I was just resting a bit.
Lydia, it's happened. It's happened.
What has happened?
The people, the towns, they're beginning to see. They're beginning to understand.
Please try to settle down. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, this morning at the school, a group of farmers arrived. To talk things over, they said. What they really wanted was to know what we're trying to do at the college as far as the slaves are concerned. They listened, Lydia. They really listened. And they seem to understand that we're merely trying to treat the black man as a fellow human being.
Oh, Charles, that's wonderful. But why the sudden change of heart?
It was just as you said.
Me?
That's right. God did have his own ideas how he was going to work things out. And what a way.
How?
The slave catchers, Lydia, the slave catchers. They came riding in so sure everyone would cooperate. And they made enemies everywhere they went.
But I would have thought that...
They thought so, too. But they were wrong. Why, they talked about the slaves like they were animals that needed penning. And, suddenly the people around here realized what it is we're trying to put a stop to. It was marvelous.
Marvelous in our eyes.
Ah, my sweet woman. Sometimes I realize how much I need your steadying influence. What would I ever do without you?
Charles?
Huh?
You may have to find out.
Find out what?
What you would do without me.
Lydia.
I didn't want to worry you while this slavery business was so strong on your mind, but...
Please, dear, what you talking about?
Well, you know I haven't been feeling good.
Oh, I know, dear. This whole thing has been very hard on you, too. I've been neglecting you.
No, Charles, it isn't just the slavery troubles. I really am ill.
Lydia.
I went to see Dr. Carlson a few days ago. I didn't tell you because I didn't want to worry you.
What did he say?
He said complete rest. He said I had to go to bed and stay there if I wanted to pull through.
Oh. I had no idea.
Neither did I.
But for how long?
Until I'm better.
Oh, no.
Oh, now, Charles, Charles, don't look so stricken. You look like you're the one who should be in bed.
Bed? That's right. What are you doing down here? You should be up...
I've been resting a lot since my talk with Dr. Carlson.
Resting? We've had someone here every night this week, staying till all hours.
Please, Charles, it's only one man's opinion. Doctors can exaggerate. I know. My father used to...
Exaggeration or no, you're going right up to bed, Lydia. I meant it when I said I didn't know what I'd do without you.
Now, Mr. Finney, why don't you rest a little? There's nothing to be accomplished by your pacing around all night.
She's really bad, isn't she, Doctor?
No worse than she's been half a dozen times in the last 6 months. You should know by now that she's...
But in the past, you've just come, eased her pain, and gone home. Tonight you're staying.
I just want to be sure she's resting comfortably before I go. That's all. And you should be resting, too.
I can't. Something seems to be saying that this
Please,
is...
Mr. Finney, don't torture yourself with thoughts that may have no grounds. Now, why don't you just step into the sitting room and lie down for a while? I'll call you if there's any reason to, whatever.
Yes. All right, Doctor, but please...
Don't worry, Mr. Finney. Now go. Rest.
Oh, I must have fallen asleep. Lydia! Dr. Carlson.
Mr. Finney, I was just on my way to getting you.
Is she worse?
Mr. Finney, it's always hard for a doctor to say something like this. And it's even harder when it's to a man that I've come to know as well as I have you.
Oh, no.
I'm sorry, Mr. Finney. Your wife is no longer with us.
Oh, no.
She left with little pain. I think she began to smile right at the last.
Oh, no.
I'm so sorry. Would you like me to tell the children?
No. Oh, thanks, Doctor. I'm sure you did everything that you could.
Everything it was within my power to do.
Yes. I'm sure. Thank you.
Maybe I'd better stay just to make sure that you...
No. I'll be all right, Dr. Carlson. Thank you. Lydia, it's just a bit of a shock, that's all.
No, of course.
I mean, we knew it was coming, didn't we? We knew that sooner or later she...
There, Mr. Finney. There. She's better off where she is.
And so we conclude Chapter 25 of For Such a Time as This, the life story of Charles Finney. This has been another in the series Stories of Great Christians, which comes to you from the Moody Bible Institute of Chicago.